Let me start by saying that politics and war are inseparable. Clausewitz said that war is a continuation of politics by other means. A nation's political interests are paramount; they're supreme, and armed forces are one of the instruments actually to protect it. Just one of the instruments. There are many instruments for the government. And in a political democracy, whenever the government decides to use force for attainment of its political objectives, then I think it's the role of the armed forces, or the defense forces, or the military, I think is twofold. Firstly, is to provide options to the government for application of that particular force so that it can achieve its objectives. And second is to provide some kind of an confidence to the government. So government can have as many options as it desires, provided it has spent that much amount of money during peacetime to develop its capabilities. The options also depend on the military leadership, the kind of training they have imparted, the kind of war games they have conducted, the kind of contingencies they have played out, the kind of rehearsals which they have carried out. This will increase the number of options that are available to us. Options, when we say for force application, you all know that after the Uri terror attack, there were surgical strikes. Then the time we went via the land route. Thereafter, after Pulwama, we used the air route with large force engagements, almost about 40 plus aircrafts, main and a similar kind of a decoy mission operating somewhere else. Sindoor, we decided to use a third option, that is exploit the lower airspace. That means it would have kept the threshold of conflict low, it would have assured success, and then there would have been an element of surprise. In fact, whenever you are exercising any option, if you repeat that strategy time and again, the chances of success will be dim. So every time you will have to think of a new strategy. Next is about capability development. I think we all learn lessons from whatever we do. So Balakot strikes probably had their own lessons for Pakistan as well as for us. We learned that long range precision strikes are a must. Standoff capability is a must. Post strike damage assessment is a must. You have to get back the proof of what you have done. So after that, we started investing in creating these kind of capabilities. So you had Scalp, Rampage, Crystal Maze, Hammer. We had Palm 400, Excalibur ammunition. So all these kind of capabilities, not only we acquired, but we started to operationalize it. Pakistan probably they learned a different kind of a lesson from Balakot. They worried about air defenses, so probably they invested more in HQ-9, PL-15 and such kind of aircraft. In between, I must also say that this was the period when government had given us emergency procurement. So I was talking about, the government should be able to spend some money. So all democracies are always short of money. But then the government did give us this emergency procurement 1 to 4. Largely arising out of our troubles in the northern border. And we created these capabilities and we could have shifted them either way. He told us only one thing, that he's not under any kind of political pressure to do it immediately. He said, do it at your own time, but ensure that there is no reason for failure, either human or because of technical reasons. And we should have evidence of whatever we do. And the fourth thing which he told us was complete freedom of action. So for the military, actually, there could be nothing better than this. What they want always is clear political direction, and that was available to us. It was in this particular meeting only. We also included in the target list, we also included Bhavalpur. That was on insistence of Raksha Mantri, because the Prime Minister is saying that we need to do something big. The target was at a distance, but yet we included it. And once we included Bhavalpur in the target list, use of air became inherent into it. Loiter ammunitions and drones would not have been able to reach, or that success wouldn't have been assured. As far as this operation is conduct of this operation is there, it was, we all know, we can say that it was done in 3 phases. Phase 1 was the surgical strikes which happened on the night of 6th and 7th morning. There were 9 targets which are struck. Air Force struck Buridke and Bawalpur, and the Army struck 7 targets. Then was this period of 8th and 9th, in which Pakistan tried to say that they launched Operation Makal Haq, that's Battle of Truth. And this particular 2 days, a lot of loiter ammunitions, some kind of drones, etc., were used by both sides. If I were to say this particular time was taken by both sides for deceiving each other, for sizing up each other, for creating gaps, assessing your vulnerabilities and plugging it, and creating new vulnerabilities. So, for example, we knew that on 8th and 9th, you must have seen that we used Harop and Harpic loiter ammunition to target. They are anti-radiation loiter ammunition. They loiter at a particular area, and if some radiating medium comes up, or radars or something, they go and hit that. So that's what we were using. But before that, we were using a meat ammunition, which is actually an air defense target decoy. So that goes, it masquerades as an aircraft, and that forces people to open up their radars, and that's followed by this particular Harop and Harpic. And then it creates vulnerabilities, because you do not know when aircrafts are coming whether to open up your radars or don't have to open. So that kind of tactics created some kind of a gaps, physical gaps because of destruction of some radars, and procedural, because the enemy was confused as to whether it should open up radars. So all this, as said, was a period in which we are trying to create vulnerabilities, plug our vulnerabilities, trying to deceive each other, sizing up each other, and creating gaps. On the line of control, of course, there were focused fire assaults which happened, and on the 10th, that's the phase 3, I would say, that's Bunyan al-Marsus, the operation which Pakistani said is a wall of lead, that started as, and they declared that almost to a couple of countries that they're going to teach India a lesson in the next 48 hours, and going to start at about 1 o'clock PST, and that's about 1:30 PST. But unfortunately or fortunately, they folded up within about 8.5 hours. So in this phase 3 of the operation, we carried out 4 waves of air attacks, first starting at 2:30, 4:30, 10:30, and last one going at almost at about 1:45, 12:30. So if I have to sum up, this Operation Sindoor was a different kind of a war from all the wars which we had fought earlier till now. So this was a mix of non-contact, largely non-contact, and contact warfare. It was truly multi-domain, because operations were handling not only the air, maritime, and land domain, but also in cyber and electromagnetic spectrum, as well as space. It was a mix of kinetic and non-kinetic operations. It was networked. I spoke about our air defense network. That gave us a fused kind of a picture. They were non-linear. Normally, most of the warfare, it's been linear in sense. We take on objectives very sequentially. So over here, there was no sequential attacking of objectives. We stuck objectives which are far too in depth. And of course, there was a bit element of intelligence involved into it, artificial intelligence also. If I had to list out a couple of reasons for India's victory, I would say that we had better situational awareness, better battlefield transparency, because we are better networked. And Army, Navy, and Air Force, the situation was available to us in one manner for all of us. So hence we were able to take decisions better. So we not only knew the results of our strikes, almost real time, but also knew the results of his strikes, that he has failed, which he did not know. So compared to us, he was kind of blind. So hence it was easy for us to take decisions. Second thing I could say was why I can attribute to victory was, I think, clear political direction which gave us a free hand to plan operations. Third thing could be this multi-level coordination which I spoke about, right at the level, at the very apex level of, you can say, CCS, then the NSA doing things, RM and the Chiefs of Staff Committee. And last is, we have spoken at some forum about this notion of victory. In earlier wars, I said this was a different war. In earlier wars, a notion of victory would have been through capture of territory, POW, destruction of equipment, etc. But in this, I think the notion of victory was based on sophistication of our operations, precision and timing which we displayed, the speed and tempo of our operations, and having a ceasefire at a place and time of our own choosing. So these were few things which helped us achieve that notion of victory. In this particular operation, what we did was, as said earlier, that we made an escalation ladder at 5 levels. So on day 1, what would happen, and next level of escalation, and then what would happen next. This is all based on, whatever you do, what is the possible enemy reaction to it, and the probability of it from high to low. He may undertake 10 type of actions from high to low, and then you say the highest probability of action, say, are 3. Whether they will succeed or they will not succeed. It depends on what kind of action it is, how difficult it is or how easy it is. So if it succeeds, then what are your options? And if it fails, what are your options? So you continue, this is the second cycle. And but after that, you put on your options on the table, which you hope will succeed. And you continue like this, going up the ladder. So you make it up because, unless you have thought through this whole thing and passed it down, if you want to change in between, this is not possible. I can give you a small example. At about, once the Pakistanis had picked up the phone and they said they wanted to talk at about 10, the air chief had asked me that whether he should strike Sargodha. I said, go ahead. And then he also, I said, please identify 2 more targets. So he had, one of the targets he identified was Sukardu. But unfortunately, we gave a yes, but after some time the weather was bad over Sukardu. But they had to change over to Bulhari. Now from Sukardu to Bulhari, which is near Karachi. Now unless you had practiced, you had the targeting data, everything thought on D-Day, before to D-Day, this is not possible to do this. So unless your escalation matrix is correct and people are aware of what is to be done, right from D1. So it's not possible because of this fast pace of operations. Exit. I think a couple of principles which we thought in this escalation matrix which laid for ourselves was that the last strike or the winning note will be always delivered by us and not by the Pakistanis. So that was one. Second thing was we thought that communication is important. That means we have a physical line, so you keep communicating. And third important thing is battlefield transparency, about which you have spoken. In your escalation, unless you are clear as to what you are doing and the results of it and what enemy is done and the results of it, you will not be able to take the next step in that escalation ladder. So battlefield transparency, and that comes out of networking. That's very, very important. I think, and your exit strategy. When you said that we will enter a ceasefire at about 5 o'clock, this all happens because you're understanding the battlefield far better than your adversary. And then you can take a decision that, okay, we'll quit because we are now at a winning term. We are at a winning term at 9:30, 10. We carried on those strikes till about 1 o'clock. So we ensured we had a better victory. And then we said, okay, we will talk at 3 o'clock. So that ceasefire is to be decided at 5. That was what we decided. Some of the lessons we've learnt out of this conflict, but sometimes I feel it's far more important to understand what lessons the adversary has learnt. And to those lessons, how is he trying to, whatever shortcomings he's noticed, what is he doing about it? I think that is more important than the lessons what you have learnt. I'll now talk about the possible lessons which Pakistan would have learnt and what it has done. First is, I think there was a lack of integration between the 3 services. Second is lack of coordination between conventional and his nuclear forces, and a singular command authority over conventional and nuclear missiles, both. So all this he's kind of remedied. He's created an Army Rocket Force, which is separate from a National Strategic Command. So he separated out his conventional and nuclear forces. He's created this port of CDF. He's created a joint defense headquarters. And this chairman, Joint Chief of Staff Committee, which was earlier held, that post has been abolished. So that thing was non-functional because although he was chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, but all three services were acting independently. So now what they have done is they made a CDF, put all the three services under him, and also put the nuclear forces under him. So for a better kind of coordination. They did it by the 27th Amendment in November 25, 6 months after this operation. And now they have provided a force to this particular amendment, which they have done a force of law by passing the Defence Forces Act 2026 on 20th of August, this month itself. Second thing, so these are the drawbacks which Pakistan has noticed, and this is how it is tried to rectify it. The implications of this. Obviously, the first implication of this is good and bad. So the space for conventional operations increases further because he separated out his nuclear and conventional forces. So hence there is more space for conventional. Then it makes his long-range artillery, long-range rockets and missiles more usable. And hence that would be a new threat or a new challenge in next kind of a conflict for us. So this is what we should be aware of. The next thing which Pakistan has always been seeking security in pacts and alliances. And right after this particular conflict, he was trying to secure security, national security, by some more accords and alliances. First, he tried this SMDA, Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement, with Saudi Arabia on 17th of September 2025. And now, of course, is this Mecca Accord, which they declared on 7th of August, in which the only statement which they said that is for mutual deterrence, for strengthening deterrence, and attack on any one country would be considered as an attack on either of the. So I think that has got major security implications for India. Unless the pact says that it is not against India, we must assume that it is against India. And we should, the warfare, I said, is changing. So this pact may not allow joint application of force to land, which we conventionally think. A new kind of front, because geographically they are separated, but warfare today is not happening only on land. So it's a maritime, airspace, cyber, space, electromagnetic spectrum. They still can be joined. So there is a new kind of a threat, and we'll have to factor this in our future strategies. Then, of course, Pakistan lacked sovereign ISR capabilities. His satellites were just about 2. So if you've seen in the last, after Operation Sindoor, he's made a concerted effort. He's launched 4 more satellites in 2025 and 26. If you see 6 more satellites, that's a huge capability jump which they have created. So he supplemented this with the number of HAPS program and number of hail and mail UAVs. And of course, he's looking at selective acquisition. His defense budgets are less, far less than us. He can spend less money. So he's selectively creating capabilities in, say, electronic warfare, counter-UAS system, such kind of selective capability building he's doing. So we'll have to take all this thing into account for next round whenever it comes up. For us, I think we'll have to reassess our procurement priorities. That is one. Reassess our war fighting strategies. Create new capabilities. Should be able to create new capabilities, create a new kind of deterrence, non-nuclear strategic deterrence, which could be based on very frontier technologies, based on space, cyber, quantum, artificial intelligence. And of course, we should look at strategic realignment, keep our channels of communication open with all our friendly nations.